Alaska, the largest state in the United States and often dubbed the last frontier, is a land of awe-inspiring beauty and untamed wilderness. It promises a unique experience with its majestic mountains, pure glaciers, and a wealth of wildlife. Alaska is still one of the least inhabited states in the Union, despite its enormous size, more than twice that of Texas. The intriguing topic of why such a gorgeous land is nevertheless so empty is brought up by this sparsity. The answer is found in the particular difficulties that Alaska poses. Alaska is not for the weak of heart. From its harsh climate, winters can last forever, and temperatures can drop to unthinkable lows to its remoteness from the rest of the country. It is easy to understand why many people appreciate Alaska from a distance, but decide not to go there when you consider the high expense of living, the lack of infrastructure, and the psychological toll of living in such remote settings. Nevertheless, Alaska offers unmatched independence and adventure to those who dare to call it home, which is evidence of the people's tenacity. We'll discover the intriguing nuances of living in one of the most untamed and enigmatic places on Earth, as we watch the reasons why so few people call this magnificent territory home: severe weather and harsh climate. Alaska's harsh climate is a major factor in the state's extremely low population. Many areas of the state have months-long winters with temperatures frequently falling below -40 degrees Fahrenheit or -40 degrees Celsius. It can be mentally exhausting to endure the long, dark evenings of winter, especially in northern Alaska. Polar nights, when the sun doesn't rise for weeks, are experienced by towns located above the Arctic Circle. Although warmer, the brief summers are still significantly colder than those in most other regions of the United States. It is difficult for locals to adjust and prosper all year round due to the sharp seasonal variations and intense heat. The weather in Alaska might be daunting for those accustomed to milder climates. People are further discouraged from relocating to the area by the hard environment, which also poses obstacles to other businesses like agriculture. Residents mainly rely on imported items because there are few chances to grow food locally, which raises living expenses and makes daily living more challenging. Remoteness and isolation. Another important reason for Alaska's low population density is its isolated location. It is geographically isolated from the rest of the United States, since Canada divides it from the contiguous United States. Whether by plane, sea, or the sparse road system, getting to and from Alaska is costly and time-consuming. Many of the state's towns are even more remote, accessible only by boat or tiny aircraft. In rural Alaska, for example, settlements are dispersed throughout large, disconnected areas. Accessing essential services like healthcare, education, and emergency aid can be challenging due to this isolation, especially during times of crisis. Another factor is the psychological impact of living in a remote area. The isolation and lack of community overwhelm a lot of people, particularly in places with little social or recreational opportunities. It can be especially difficult for families to raise kids in isolated places with few extracurricular activities and schools. Financial difficulties. Despite having abundant natural resources like salmon, gold, and oil, Alaska's economy lacks the diversity necessary to sustain a sizable population. Despite its dominance, the oil and gas sector is extremely unstable, with employment openings varying based on market conditions. In Alaska, occupations like mining and commercial fishing frequently call for specific knowledge or a readiness to endure harsh working circumstances. Finding steady work might be very difficult for people without these credentials. Additionally, a lot of businesses have seasonality, which causes people to experience periods of unemployment. In Alaska, hefty operating costs such as those for shipping, heating, and transportation make it difficult for small businesses to thrive. Families and individuals find it difficult to view Alaska as a feasible destination to establish a long-term life due to the state's narrow job market and lack of economic diversification. The exorbitant cost of living. The high cost of living in Alaska is a big turnoff for prospective inhabitants. Prices are far higher than in the lower 48 states since almost everything must be imported, including food, gasoline, and building supplies. For instance, food in Alaska, especially in isolated villages, might cost almost twice as much as in other states. Because inhabitants must rely on electricity, propane, or fuel oil to keep their homes warm throughout the long winters, heating expenses represent yet another significant expense. Environmental and wildlife hazards. Alaska's most attractive and dangerous feature is its wilderness. Bears, moose, and wolves are among the most hazardous animals in North America, and all can be found in the state. Despite being an essential component of Alaska's environment, these animals can be dangerous to people, especially in rural and isolated places. Furthermore, Alaska is vulnerable to natural calamities like earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. More earthquakes, some of which are extremely devastating, occur in the state than any other in the Union. Population expansion is further discouraged by the level of preparedness and resilience that these environmental dangers need. Inadequate facilities and infrastructure. Another factor contributing to Alaska's small population is the state's inadequate infrastructure. Basic facilities like dependable electricity, running water, and broadband internet are scarce in many rural locations. Compared to lower 48 urban areas, infrastructure can be lacking even in more developed towns. Transportation is very difficult. Although there are a few roadways in Alaska, much of the state cannot be reached by car. Rural communities also have restricted access to healthcare and education, with many inhabitants having to travel great distances for further education or medical care. Historical and cultural aspects. Lastly, Alaska's small population is a result of historical and cultural circumstances. For thousands of years, Alaska's indigenous peoples, such as the Yupik, Tlingit, and Inupiat, have coexisted peacefully with the state's hostile climate. Their traditional lifestyles, however, have not always adapted to the social and economic structures brought about by colonization. Compared to other regions of the country, Alaska was less desirable for extensive colonization due to its remote position and harsh climate when it was first a U.S. territory and then a state. Many people view Alaska more as a location to travel or have fun than as a place to call home. Some people are drawn to Alaska's image as a wild, untamed wilderness, while others who value the conveniences of city life are put off. Although Alaska has unparalleled natural beauty and breathtaking vistas, few people choose to live there due to its harsh climate and particular difficulties. There, the human spirit is continually put to the test against the forces of nature. Unspoiled wilderness extends as far as the eye can view, and freedom takes on new meaning. Even while it might not be for everyone, Alaska is nonetheless a representation of fortitude, self-reliance, and unwavering beauty. Let us know in the comments what you think about why nobody lives in Alaska, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more captivating content on our YouTube channel.